And the naira today further depreciated against the dollar at the parallel markets. The naira lost 1 naira 50 kobo to the dollar as it traded at 225 naira 50 kobo to the dollar at the parallel markets. Also, the official interbank rate has dropped by 0.05 to 196 naira 95 kobo to the dollar. Traders attribute the depreciation of the naira to the markets to insufficient quantity of dollar at the market. And joining me to discuss this disturbing trend is frontline economist and managing director of Financial Derivatives Limited, Mr. Bismarck Rewane. You're welcome to the News at 10.
Good evening.
I guess this really is up for discussion. It's quite a disturbing situation we're in. What really is happening to the naira?
I think the fundamental question to ask is the currency misaligned from the real equilibrium rate? Yes, it is misaligned. Then the next question, is this misalignment temporary or is it fundamental? The issue is that at this point in time, you have to ask yourself, what caused this misalignment? A drop in the price of oil, drop in export earnings, and sticky import levels. Is this drop in the price of oil going to be temporary? We've been 15 months now, we've been below $90. In the last 8 weeks, we've been below $50. Therefore, one can easily say that the currency is in for a long-term or a medium-term misalignment. You will now need steps, including temporary as well as fundamental. So you have temporary adjustments, which are the type you're doing administratively, and structural adjustments, which means that your balance of payments needs to be fixed by a number of measures. Exchange rate adjustment, reserve replenishment, and doing some things about the consumer behavior of Nigerians.
I remember that you'd also talked about this a few months ago when we began to notice that the price of oil was already was falling.
Yes.
And I remember it was the then Minister of the Economy who said that Nigerians should prepare for austerity and that we should tighten our belts and so on. And you give a few advice concerning that.
Yes. No, the reality is that austerity is, like trying to fast. But the issue is that if you have an ulcer and you fast, you probably worsen the situation. So what should have happened is that the leakages should have been blocked. And then you have to address the fundamental question. You are using 47 million liters of petrol every day, when in 2013 you were using only 14 million liters. So did the number of cars in Nigeria increase by 300%? No. To that extent, there's bloated and fictitious imports of refined products. So what are we doing? Get the refineries to start working. That will reduce the import dependence, but at the same time, allow for transparency in that process. So let us say, for example, that our actual demand for refined petrol is about 20 million liters. You would have saved yourself the amount of 27 million liters, and that amount of currency will be used to support other raw materials and things like that. So there's some shifting around, but also the fact is that fundamentally the currency is in misalignment and needs to be adjusted.
Does this mean we're falling gradually into a recession?
No. A recession, like I said the other day, is 2 consecutive back-to-back quarters of negative growth. What you are seeing is a slowdown. You can go from prosperity into a slowdown into a recession, or you can go from a slowdown back into a recovery. What you see here is that 2016 looks as if we're going to have a recovery. The recovery will start in the second half of 2016. This period is a period of consolidation and stability. After stabilization, you now go to take off, which is going to be sometime next year. Oil prices will return, not to the old price, but definitely above 55, something to almost $60 a barrel next year.
But this will affect the budget, won't it?
Yes. The budget is going to be, there will be 2 budgets. One is a supplementary budget to streamline the current situation, and then a 2016 budget which will be realistic in meeting our needs to reflate the economy. The economy has to be reflated. And so you block the leakages, which means you increase the injections. You have the multiplier effect, and then after that, there will be some stabilization. So what is important is the war against corruption, the war against insurgency, but more than anything, reflation of the economy and a mental adjustment. Nigerians have to understand that we are not an oil-rich economy. We are, to all intents and purposes, we are an oil-poor economy.
Mr. Rwani, thank you for joining us on the News at 10. I've been speaking with Mr. Bismarck Rwani, the Managing Director of Financial Derivatives Limited. He's also a leading economist here in Nigeria. Here in Lagos, State Governor Mr. Akiwumi Ambode today presented his account of stewardship in the maiden edition of the quarterly town hall meeting. Addressing thousands of residents at the Abesom Mini Stadium in Ipaja, Alimosho local government area, the governor said one of his key achievements on assumption of office has been to stabilize the finances of the state. He revealed that the state government has been able to save about 3 billion naira monthly through the reduction of cost of governance. He said his administration has mapped out long-term plans and programs to make Lagos globally competitive.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am determined to be accountable for every revenue and expenditure of the state. One of our first key tasks was to stabilize the finances of the state. We embarked on a financial re-engineering and reviewed the revenue and expenditure framework of the state. These efforts, coupled with the realignment of ministries, departments and agencies, have saved the government almost 3 billion naira every month. This has provided us with more funds to inject into capital projects and the initial funds to establish the Employment Trust Fund, which
Lagos State Governor Akiwumi Ambode. Let's take more business news now with Imana Amawe.
Like roads and the power sector, finance experts have advocated investment of pension funds into short-term government securities. Speaking at the end of the World's Pension Summit in Abuja, they however called for discipline and the engagement of experts in managing the funds.
Participants pay rapt attention to what must be done to reform the pension system in Nigeria and Africa, often characterized by delayed payment upon retirement or non-enrollment after years of meritorious service. But all of these will soon become a thing of the past as key decisions on how to reverse the trend and ensure that the funds are channeled into ventures that are worthwhile has been taken.
Everything you say you can't do, the mind immediately begins to walk towards how you can do it. But if you start with I can't do it, it shuts down, and then you can't. And I'm finding myself applying the same principle to the issues concerning the investments and infrastructures. We've got to do it. Our job is to find out how and mitigate all the inherent risks in there.
Other speakers at the summit bear their minds on protecting depositors' fund that would guarantee a secure future for retirees.
I think it's time to relax some of the investment constraints on asset allocation that PENCOM have quite understandably built into the regime. I think it's time to find ways to make it easy to move into private equity. I think it's time to allow some non-domestic investment. I'm not talking free-for-all. I'm talking something like 10%, perhaps just Pan-Africa.
In 20, 30 years' time, most of us are going to be aged. So are we looking at old people's homes? Culturally, we thought that that was an anathema. But maybe we have to look in that direction, because what happens now? Mommy and daddy sit in a big house with an illiterate house girl and a watchman, and that's their care. Is that good enough?
While pension assets in Africa is put at over $400 billion, it still has an infrastructure deficit of $75 billion. These huge resources, according to these experts, could turn the economic development of the region around if well harnessed.
The Bank of Industry, that's the BOI, and the National Youth Service Corps today launched the Graduate Entrepreneurship Fund, GEF. The initiative is aimed at providing a solution to graduate unemployment in the country. Our correspondent Shola Shorile reports that each beneficiary of the Graduate Entrepreneurship Fund can access a loan of between 500,000 naira to 2 million as working capital, as well as for the procurement of machinery equipment.
More than 41% of over 250,000 Nigerian graduates who enroll in the NYSC scheme remain unemployed after the scheme. That's according to the Nigerian Institute of Social and Economic Research.
When NYSC was established, yes, the focus was on the issue of integration. But then we felt that we could use the scheme just like they used it to address issue of integration in the 70s. We could use it to address the contemporary issue we have now, which is that of unemployment. And that was why we established the Department for Skill Acquisition and Entrepreneurship Development. And as of today, we have trained over 400,000 core members in different skill sets under that program. The next one is that of capital. That's when you train these people, if they don't have startup capital, it's like work done is zero.
The NYSC and BOI are collaborating with some of the country's best development consultants and centers. They have signed an MOU to that effect. Core members will be screened and selected through an online business idea competition. 1,000 of them will be chosen to participate in a 3-day training program. And at the end, they will each develop a business plan which will form the basis for a loan consideration.
The total amount available for lending under the GEF is 2 billion naira. Each beneficiary of GEF can access loans ranging from 500,000 naira to 2 million naira for the procurement of plant and machinery as well as working capital at a single-digit interest rate of 9% with a tenor from, depending on the circumstance, on a case-by-case basis, between 3 to 5 years. One unique feature of GEF is that it does not require the conventional collateral usually demanded by banks.
Past youth beneficiaries of BOI loans shared their experiences with 7 core members and encouraged them to access this unique opportunity. Shola Shoyele for Channels Television News.
And once again, negative sentiments prevailed at the Nigerian Stock Exchange as the key benchmark index dipped by 25 basis points. Let's now join Bolaji Akinwale for a summary of the day's trading figures.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. Trading on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange continued on a downslide as the key index shared 0.25% to close at 30,330.58. The market's capitalization stood at 10.4 trillion naira. On the gainers table, 40 oil closed at 263 naira. It was followed by Nigeria Breweries with 141 naira and Unilever with a closing price of 46 naira 50 kobo. On the flip side, Seplat led with a closing price of 225 naira 54 kobo. Then Dangote Cement closed with 166 naira 50 kobo, while Mobil closed with 145 naira 7 kobo. On the top trade chart, Axis Bank led with 83.3 million shares, coming ahead of WAPIC and Zenith Bank with 64.3 million shares and 29.5 million units of shares. In total, investors exchanged over 3 billion naira for 300.5 million shares in 3,112 deals. And that's a wrap on the Stock Market Report. I am Bolaji Akinwale.
Many thanks, Bolaji. Let's take a look at the global market figures now. That's it on Business News Tonight. I'm Imana Amawe. Amarachi will be back with the rest of the news at 10.